As an educator in higher education, you may ask your students to record a presentation for an assignment or an assessment. But you might struggle to recommend how to do this, what software to use and how to use that particular software. In this video, I will introduce you to two widespread applications that most institutions in higher education will have applied, namely Microsoft Teams and Panopto. Now, without further ado, let's get straight to it. Hi, my name is Gerd Christandl. I'm an online educator and learning technologist at the University of Greenwich in London, UK. I share tips, how-tos and tutorials to help you build your digital skills for your online and hybrid teaching needs. If you want to stay in the loop, hit that subscribe button below, turn on notifications so you won't miss out on any new content. Cheers! As busy educators, many of us just don't find the time to dig into technology to be able to recommend the tools for students to record their presentations and submit them. But don't fear. In this brief video, I will show you how to use Panopto and/or Microsoft Teams so your students are able to provide the assessments that you want them to submit. First and foremost, it's important to check if the students, the presenters or the presenter, has access to the desktop version of Panopto and Microsoft Teams. So please make sure to check for your students if they can download it at your institution, if they have access to it with their university ID and user. The same goes for Microsoft Teams. Ideally for recordings, you use the desktop version. Now let's jump over to Panopto first and have a look how this works. Now I'm over here in Panopto, the desktop version is open and it is open on the Create New Recording tab right there. Now in order for students to be able to record anything in Panopto, they need a so-called assignment folder. The assignment folder they can't create themselves. It's important that the educator does that. I leave a link in the description below to a video and some written instructions how to set up this assignment folder. So if you're an educator, please make sure that this assignment folder is set up, because otherwise students cannot save their recordings. Then secondly, we need to make sure that our primary sources are set correctly. So first and foremost, make sure that you have a working camera. In the drop-down list, just like so, I'm selecting my main camera. It's loading and you can see that the camera is active and this is the view on the presenter or presenters. So if you're a student or a student team, then make sure that the camera points at the person presenting at any point in time. And secondly, you need to make sure that your microphone is also getting activated so Panopto can record your audio. You open the drop-down list just like before, and you select your corresponding microphone. In this case, I will select my USB microphone. Now you can see that here on the top left is the recording button. Yeah, this has become active once we have selected the camera as well as the microphone. We're not quite there yet. We still need to do a couple of settings to make sure that the recording is in a good and adequate quality. Therefore, we need to go ahead and select the standard quality. Please only select high or ultra if your computer, the computer you're recording your presentation on, is able to run that. You can do a test, you can select all three settings, standard, high or ultra, and just check. Record a couple of seconds and see how the quality is, how it sounds like. And then select the one that you think has the best quality for your presentation. So I'm selecting standard here to be on the safe side. And now you can here select Capture Computer Audio. This is there to record mouse clicks or to record the sound of a YouTube video you might want to include in your presentation. So make a choice if you need to record computer audio. If not, just unselect it. Next, you need to decide what is it you want to capture. You see this big gray area here, and this is basically your main screen. What I will do is I will capture a PowerPoint. Now you can see that my PowerPoint, I have already a PowerPoint open. It says here PowerPoint is open but not currently presenting. So you can select here a button. It's very useful if you do that. start presenting when recording starts. You can of course also open a different presentation if you want to use a different presentation. So make sure your PowerPoint is ready to be recorded. Now finally, want to also check the settings back here. Okay, right now I'm over here in the settings of Panopto. You can see that I have here basic settings and advanced settings. Let's look at the basic settings first. First and foremost, you can select your recording directory. You can leave it at the default Panopto recorder, or you can select any folder on your computer. Just select a folder where you're able to find your recordings later. Then you can also choose to upload when Panopto is closed. So it keeps uploading even if you close Panopto. I would leave that on. If you want to delete recordings once they are uploaded to save space on your computer, you can select that here. I have it unselected because I have enough space on my computer. It's always good to have a backup. Now this one here is very important. This one says prefer primary capture device input resolution. You can set this to auto if you are not sure and have Panopto detected itself. But if you know which of these formats you are able to run, especially the last one here, 1080i/p, that's the highest quality for the capture, then you can select that. But you need to be sure that your computer is actually able to run it that way. If your computer specifications are on the lower end, then I would not select that and have Panopto select auto. In the meeting upload settings, nothing is selected here. None of these are actually relevant for a student presentation, so I would leave them off. And then here, the Panopto folder for meeting uploads, that is important. This will be where you select the assignment folder that your educator needs to set up beforehand. In the app settings, there's already a couple things selected. None of them should really be tampered with, especially if you're starting out. Later on, you can look at hotkeys so that you are disabling the hotkeys, how to control Panopto recordings via your keyboard, but I would really leave them as they are. If we go over to the advanced settings, there's already a couple things selected. I would not mess with these initially, just to be on the safe side, but just a couple of things that I want to highlight here. Here you have the first option, Able Remember Me option for sign in. Make sure this is on in case, in your case, it is off, because then you don't have to sign in every time. The sign-in, by the way, happens via so-called SSO, single sign-on. This is important because your university will provide your sign-on that way. A single sign-on is basically that you're able to sign in with your university ID and your password that you would use to sign into other resources that your university is providing. Also, in order to sign in at the first time, you will be asked for a link to the Panopto server of your university. Please make sure to ask the IT department or ask your educator to provide that link for you. It's quite important that you have that link. And in the advanced capture settings, you can decide to capture this as an MP4 format if you are editing a video in a different software. Now, Panopto has very basic editing capabilities that you might find sufficient. Everything else I would leave at auto because Panopto is doing quite a good job to determine the best settings based on the computer that you're on. So now we're almost ready to record, but double check if your folder has actually been selected up here as well, the folder that your presentation is going into. To do so, select the drop-down list, and in here, you will see different folders. Make sure that your educator has set up the assignment folder as advised earlier in this video. Also, please make sure that your video has a good title, a title that you can recognize the recording under, or maybe search for it if you forgot where it has been recorded on your device. Now we can go ahead, because we selected Start Presenting when recording starts, we can actually start the recording. Please note, when you hit the record button up here, either by clicking on it or hitting the F8 key on the Windows keyboard, that your Panopto will get minimized and your PowerPoint presentation that you have selected will get maximized, takes over the screen. If you have two screens, then it would be good if you maximized Panopto again so you can actually see your camera too. If only one screen, then you have not much choice here. Then, of course, you do your recording, you look into the camera, you do your presentation, and then when you're done, you can actually hit the F10 key to stop the recording. If you want to pause the recording, then hit the F9 key on a Windows keyboard. So we're just going to go ahead and record a minute or two for the purposes of this video. And actually click on the record button. Now over here in Panopto during the recording, you see that some buttons have changed. The record button has turned into a stop button, with the F10 key also as a hotkey on your keyboard. You can pause a recording as well by hitting the F9 key or clicking on pause recording. You can also see up here that the recording is being counted. You see that currently I have a minute and 15 or so. For the purposes of this video, this is sufficient, so I'm gonna stop my recording at this point. So now Panopto asks you, alright, are you done with this? And it's located in this specific folder. Then I can go ahead and click on done. If you're not happy with the recording, you can go ahead and click on delete and record again. So I'm clicking on done. So once you click done, Panopto switches over automatically to the manage recordings tab up here. Below you see all the recordings that you have done to date, including right on top the one that is currently being processed. Processing means that Panopto is actually uploading the presentation to the cloud. And then you can go ahead and either delete local, so you will always have a local copy. I would keep them as a backup just in case. But you can also go ahead and actually edit the recording. To do that, you would need to click here on the edit button and a browser window will open. So now we have a browser window open and you can see that this is in the folder. It says here my folder. In your case, it will be your assignment folder and then the title of your presentation right here. Below, you can see that here are chapters and the chapters are according to the slides I have in my PowerPoint presentation. So Panopto is doing a very good job in actually determining the slides that are in my presentation and creating chapters from that. Chapters are like timestamps on a YouTube video. If you click later in the recording that you provide to your educator on these individual chapters, then the educator can jump straight to that part of the video. So now you can go ahead and edit the video. In this video, I will not show you how to edit the video. The editing function is quite basic, but I will leave a link in the description below. So you can do a little check here, click on play, have a look. You can see this is me waiting for the recording to be done for the purposes of this video. So please go ahead and edit the video. The editing function in Panopto is, as I said, very basic. What you can do is you can actually cut out parts of the video you don't want, which you basically do here down in the timeline. You grab the mouse cursor and then you cut out those parts that you don't want to be seen. They are still there, they're not being deleted, but they're just not visible. So later, when you process the recording, again, when you make any changes, then the video would, in this case, start right here. So this part here in gray would not be visible. You might want to edit the video, just in case you have some kind of pauses or you have some parts that you re-recorded. It's always better to do that than start a recording entirely from the beginning, in case you make an error at the end or in the middle. What I would also do in your editing is to make sure that your fellow student, that everybody can watch your recording, if that is something that your educator has in mind. And here on the left-hand side, click on Captions, and Panopto creates captions automatically. Edit those captions just in case that Panopto has not captured it properly. So for instance, here it says Sam buttons, but I have said some buttons. Yeah, so you might want to do that. So everybody is included, nobody is excluded from enjoying your great presentation. So once this is being done, you can go ahead and make sure that any edits have been changed. You go up here to apply, and then Panopto will process the video again. So it says here, close the editor. You can safely say yes or okay to that. And then it says the session is being processed. This page will refresh when the session is ready. And to make sure that you are able to share the recording with your tutor, you can do this in two ways. If your tutor wants you to download the recording and upload it to, let's say, Moodle or Canvas or Blackboard, then you just can go ahead, click on My folder in this case, so in your case, your assignment folder. Hover your mouse pointer next to the presentation, click on Settings, click on Outputs, and then you can go ahead, and it says here Podcast. Don't be confused about that. You can just go ahead and click on Download Podcast, and then it downloads your podcast right here. You can also go ahead first and change the quality of your recording. So for instance here, you can change this to a higher quality download if that is applicable to your machine, if your computer is able to run it that way. In that case, if you make any changes, click on Apply. And it says this will be temporarily unavailable while your changes are processed. Now you would click OK. For the sake of this video, I will click on Cancel. And then you can go ahead and download this. And you have a local copy that you can then upload on a platform like Moodle or Canvas or Blackboard. Whilst we're in that screen here, please make sure if you share a link to that video with your educator, if that is the way they want to go about it, you click here on Share. And then here it says who can access this video, only specific people and groups. You can go ahead, make it easy for yourself, change this. You can say your organization unlisted, so anyone at your organization who has the link, so it can't be found and watched unless you have the link. You grab this and then copy the link right there. It says here link copied on the bottom. And then go ahead and send that copied link to your teacher. So now let's switch over to Microsoft Teams. Before you start recording in Microsoft Teams, again, you need to do a little bit of housekeeping. Please check with your institution, or please have your educator check with your institution where student recordings are being recorded. For instance, at my institution, the University of Greenwich, student recordings get recorded in OneDrive in a recordings folder. So now I'm over here in Microsoft Teams, and you can only record a meeting if you are actually in a meeting. So you cannot do a pre-recording. The best way of doing that is to create your own Teams group. I will leave a link in the description below how you can create your own Teams group. Then you go ahead in that group. So here, this is my sandbox team. So I'm the only member of that team. You want to create a group where your team members are members of that team. If you are a single presenter, then only you should be in that team. So then just go ahead and click up here on the Meet button. This opens an impromptu meeting, and you can rename that if you want or leave it as is. I'm just going to do a change here. I'm going to call it Student Presentation. But you might not see your camera or your microphone is not set up. To do that right here, just go ahead and click on the little cog symbol here. Open Device Settings. And then here on the right-hand side, you see your device settings popping up. The ones that we need to check are microphone and camera. So the microphone, just like with Panopto, select your microphone of choice. Down here in the camera, you need to select the correct camera. I'll go ahead and select my camera as before. And then you can see right there in the preview window, your camera is selected. Great. So with that all set up, you just click on Join Now. You will be asked to invite people to join you. You don't have to do that. You can just go ahead and close this. So now the meeting is in session, but we want to record a presentation, right? To do so, I'll click the participants pane here on the right-hand side. Now I'm going to go ahead and go up here and click on Share Content. Now I have a video on how to share or use a PowerPoint presentation in Microsoft Teams. Link in the description below, and the same links pops up right there on top of your screen right now. So you might want to watch this in case you want to have more information on how to share PowerPoint slides in a Teams meeting. Okay, so the way I'm going to do it for this video is I'm just going to go ahead and click on Window. Now I see all the windows that are currently open on my computer. Here is my PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to select that. Now you can see that the presentation window has disappeared briefly, but don't fret. You can just get it back, going down to the taskbar and call up your meeting again. So how do you know that your PowerPoint presentation is shared? Well, you see up here that this button has now turned into stop sharing. So all you need to do really is go over to your PowerPoint presentation. This actual window here is being recorded. That means the actual PowerPoint surface. That's not really what I want to show. So I'm going to go ahead up to the slideshow tab, click on it, then search for the function set up slideshow, click on that too. Then a pop-up box will appear, and then you can choose either this to be presented by a speaker full screen, or browsed by an individual as a window, or browsed at a kiosk full screen. Again, there's a link in the description below and a link on top of this video earlier where you can find a full-blown video on the ways how to share PowerPoint presentations on Teams. I'm going to select browsed by an individual window and click OK. And then I'm actually going into my presentation mode. To do so, you go down here on the bottom right, you select slideshow, and then it goes into slideshow. Now if you have only one screen, that's pretty much what you are stuck with. So you can't check your own camera at this point. But what you can do if you have two screens, of course, is that you open the Teams view here on the second screen. So you can actually see yourself, and the presentation is right here. And then you do your presentation, but before you do so, you need to record it. How to do that in Teams? Actually very simple. In the meeting window with the camera, you go up to these three dots. They're called ellipses, by the way. You click on them, it says more actions. And then you find the option to start recording. So you click on that. Again, your Teams meeting window will be minimized. So we're going to get it back. And you see here, it says you're recording. You're recording this meeting. Make sure to let everyone know that they are being recorded. So you can dismiss this. And you see that here on the top left, that there is a red button, typical for recording symbol, and you see how many minutes are being recorded at this point. So then you can go ahead and do your presentation. Of course, make sure that you actually move your camera off screen or minimize it if you have only one screen, and then you do your presentation like so. And again, I recommend that you actually do a test recording first to check audio quality, microphone quality, camera quality, and so on. When you're done with the recording, you're gonna go back to the ellipses right there, and then you stop the recording. It asks you, are you sure you want to stop the recording? And we are sure, and click on stop recording. Now it says the recording is being saved. So now I need to be sure where is it being saved. So once more, check if your recordings are being stored either on a OneDrive in a recordings folder or maybe on Microsoft Streams. So check with your institution, check with your IT department, or ask your educator kindly to check where the student recordings are being stored. Where is this recording now? Well, there's actually, even if you don't know where it is, there's an easy way to find it. Don't stop the meeting yet at this point. You see that my meeting is still ongoing. I'm still in that meeting that I used to record the presentation. You go up here to a symbol called Show Conversation. Looks like a little speech bubble. Click on this and the meeting chat window opens. And in the meeting chat window, you can see that there is the meeting already ready. Yeah, it says here saving recording. So what you can do here, you click on these three dots here, these ellipses, click on it, and then you can click on open. Then another browser window will open. We pop over to that view. So now I'm over here in the browser window that has opened after I clicked on open. And you can see that I have here a preview window. Don't worry if it looks a bit grainy at first here. That usually changes later. But the most important bit is you can either already share it from here, but please check because it might not be possible to share files from your OneDrive, if it's OneDrive where it's at, to your tutor. To be on the safest of sides, you can actually go ahead and download it here. So up here in that browser window, you can find a download button. Then you click on download and the presentation downloads locally. And then you can go ahead and edit it. If you are familiar with how to edit videos, you will most likely already have a software for that. If not, I can leave a link in the description below to a couple of free pieces of software where you can actually edit your recording. But please be aware that some of these might have file size restrictions. And there you go. That's basically it. This is how you record presentations in Panopto and/or Microsoft Teams. Which of the two will you use if you have both available to you? Are there other applications that you have been recording your presentations in already? I would like to know, so please do let me know in the comment below. If you have any questions about anything I mentioned in this video, then please feel free to reach out and also leave a comment to this video. If you found this video useful, if you liked it, then please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, there might be more coming that might be of interest to you. And with that being said, I wish you a pleasant rest of the day. Bye bye and have a good one.